Hi, this is Rick Seymour. You can live younger longer. Now, I know that's a pretty bold statement to make unless you can back it up. And Shackley Corporation can back it up. But let's start with this. Headline from Bloomberg about a year and a half ago. Americans are retiring later, dying sooner, and sicker in between. U.S. life expectancy is declining. In fact, the American Pediatric Journal said this is the first generation in the history of America that children will die younger than their parents. Look at this, 12.5% of Americans 58 to 60 had ADL limitations. That's difficulty walking across a room, dressing, bathing, eating, getting in and out of bed. From 58 to 60, 25% from 58 to 60 rated themselves only poor or fair health. 11% already had some kind of dementia or other cognitive decline. And 14% of nursing home residents are 31 to 64. Not 70s and 80s and 90s, 31 to 64. And 1 in 5 in their early 70s are still working because they have to. So here's the question. Would you like to be healthier, more energetic, more focused, vibrant, excited, just having more fun in your life? Well, here's some Shackley people that figured it out. Dean Smith, 92, just last month, won his most recent gold medal in both the world and the U.S. competition in rowing at 92. Steve Bennett at 66 is still running ultra marathons. His last was 25 miles with a 4,700-foot elevation gain. Here's me in my mid-60s with my granddaughter Monica riding 163 miles on a tandem with me doing 99% of the work for both of us. Well, guess what? When you do things right, when you feed your body properly, things happen right. Well, these three people have been using Shackley supplements for years. So if you were to spend money on vitamins and supplements, would you like to know that you're not wasting your money, that they're actually doing you some good? UC Berkeley School of Public Health for well over 20 years has been doing what they call the National Health and Nutrition Examination Study, where they've compared people who take a multivitamin and people who don't, and compared their health status to see whether or not taking a multivitamin does you any good. Our owner went to them and said, would you take a group of Shackley people who have used nothing but Shackley vitamins for at least 20 years, put them in the study, same blood work, same epidemiological study, same dietary surveys, compare them to the other two groups? They said they would, but they were going to publish the results, whether they were good or bad. But we knew they'd be good. But here's what's so interesting. The average age of that Shackley group was 63 years old. The average age of people taking other brands of multivitamins was 58, and those people taking nothing, the average age was 53. So we were 10 years older than the no supplement group, 5 years older than the other supplement group, and everything else being equal, we should have had more health issues just because they were significantly older. But look at these results. Diabetes, 2.9% of the Shackley population versus 11.1 and 8.5. That's almost 4 times higher and 3 times higher. Heart attacks, 2.5% versus 7.6. That's triple and then almost double. Congestive heart failure, 1.4 versus 2.8. That's double and 2.5 times. Right down the list, stroke, coronary heart disease, emphysema, in every single case, the Shackley population is dramatically healthier. We're not talking 5 and 10 and 15% differences. We're talking 100, 200, 300% differences. That's amazing when you think about it. So the Shackley population really is healthier. But I want you to notice what I highlighted in yellow. It turns out that for heart attacks, diabetes, stroke, coronary heart disease, people taking nothing actually have better health than people taking other brands of multivitamins. What's wrong with this picture? Well, there's so much junk out there in the market that the average consumer has absolutely no idea what they're putting in their mouth. Well, Tufts University decided to follow that same group of Shackley people, and it's now 30 years. And here's what's so fascinating. Turns out the people who take no supplements or multivitamins, 30% of that population is likely to have very serious health issues by the time they're in their 70s and 80s. People who take other brands of vitamins, multiple vitamins, not just a multi, but other things too, 20% of that population is likely to have serious health issues as they age. And even at 80, less than 10% of the Shackley population. What that says is, taking nothing or a multi, you're 3 times more likely to have serious health issues as you age than the Shackley population. And if you take other brands of vitamins, you are twice as likely to have serious health issues as you age. So up here at the top with no supplements or other brands, you can have disease and doctors and drugs and spend a whole lot of money. Or down here with Shaklee, you can have health, energy, and longevity. We are the only company in this industry with independent clinical proof that our products actually work and build health over the long term. So what is it that makes Shaklee so different? Well, first of all, we guarantee the purity of our products. We test for over 350 contaminants on every new botanical that comes into our facilities. Let me give you some context for that. U.S. Pharmacopoeia only requires pharmaceutical companies to test for a little over 100 different contaminants. We test for 3 times as many as the pharmaceutical companies do just to make sure that they're pure. We start with organic, but we go beyond organic. Some of the most contaminated crops we've ever tested were raised organically. The farmers did everything they were supposed to do, but guess what? They have no control over pollutants in the water they irrigate the crops with, no control over air pollution that may settle on their crops. Some farmer up the valley sprays pesticides that drifts on their crops. There's no guarantee of purity just because it was raised organically. And that's why Shaklee tests for so many different contaminants. The second piece is we make sure that our products have in them what they say they have in them. The New York Attorney General filed a lawsuit against GNC, Target, Walgreens, and Walmart, not because they're the only ones, but they were the biggest ones. They wanted to make an example of them. Over 80% of the herbal products they pulled from the shelves and tested randomly had none of the active ingredient in them that people were buying them for. And over 30% had fillers and contaminants that have no business being in anything you put in your mouth. Compare that to Shaklee that tests for over 350 contaminants. We have over 138 published clinical studies in peer-reviewed medical journals done on and with our products. That's more than the sum total of all the other companies in this industry. Nobody has gone to the extent that Shaklee has to prove the purity, the potency, and the performance of our supplements. We know they work. But here's the interesting thing. People who can use anything show up on our doorstep. To date, we have won over 144 Olympic medals with Shaklee-powered athletes. In fact, if you counted Shaklee athletes as a country, we would be 8th in the world in medal winnings. That's extraordinary when you think about it. The Daedalus flight. They were trying to break the human-powered flight record. MIT built this amazing aircraft, but they couldn't figure out how to fuel these athletes long enough and well enough to break the record. They came to Shaklee. We developed what we call Hydrate Performance, what most people call a sport drink, but it's way beyond what most sport drinks are. They didn't just break the existing record, they tripled the existing record. Turns out it's been the hydration drink called AstroAid of the astronauts since 1993. In fact, here's Captain Scott Kelly and Commander Mark Kelly, who wouldn't even consider going into space without their Shaklee supplements. Yes, that's his vitalizer floating right there next to Mark. So when somebody tells you Shaklee's out of this world, guess what? It really is. But there's a subset of all of this I think we need to talk about. Let me ask you, if you had a cure for cancer, would you tell everyone you know about it? My guess is you would. But herein lies the challenge. 4 times as many people die from the consequences of obesity than all forms of cancer combined in this country. If we would solve that one issue, we could eliminate about 80% of the medical care in this country. That's extraordinary when you think about it. Well, herein lies the challenge. 2/3 of us are overweight, 1/3 of us are obese. We need to do something about it. And there are thousands of programs and products out there to help you lose weight. And guess what? They all work. Because malnutrition is a great weight loss program, but you end up skinny and sick. There's a better alternative. With all the research Shaklee has done with elite athletes, we discovered that if there's adequate leucine in the diet, it'll help you maintain your lean muscle mass. The problem is this: most people go on a diet, 1/3 to half of the weight they lose is muscle, not fat. And your basal metabolic rate that determines how many calories you can burn when you're just sitting still goes down the less lean muscle mass that you have. So when they go off the diet, they typically gain it all back as fat, and then they go on another diet, and 1/3 to half of the Weight they lose is muscle mass, and it's a downward spiral it's very difficult to get out of. Shackley has developed a weight management program that shows amazing responses from people. Here's a really good friend of ours, Linda Bennett, shows her before and after picture. And here's the best part. She's not just 70 pounds lighter, she's 70 pounds healthier. Before Shackley, she was on 17 different prescriptions a day with an $800 a month copay. Today, 7 or 8 years later, she has kept it off, has no medications, feels better than she ever has in her life. There are real answers to this issue, and Shackley has them. Another area that Shackley has focused on for years is the environment. So let me ask you, if you could make your home green and toxin-free while spending less money and getting better results, would you? Shackley Corporation was green when it was just a color, not a movement. In fact, we were the first climate neutral certified corporation in the world with 0 carbon footprint on the earth. We planted over 1 million trees. In fact, the home office in Pleasanton, California has won virtually every environmental award there is to win. And our Get Clean Starter Kit, which is about $99, will replace over $3,400 worth of cleaning power from your grocery store. It is biodegradable, it is non-toxic, it is totally safe and green. And in addition to the safety of the product, it'll not have all of that plastic, that mound behind that box, go into the environment that normally would go into the environment, because Dr. Shackley figured out years ago that you're probably smart enough to add water to a bottle. So we just sell you the concentrate, you add the water yourself. Buying that kit is the environmental equivalent of planting 10 trees. You'll have a green, non-toxic home, save money, and get better results. So we've talked about how Shackley has addressed your internal environment, your external environment. What about what you put on your skin? Because everything you put on your skin is absorbed into your bloodstream. Why do you think patches for quitting smoking work, for losing weight work? Knowing that, would you like to have natural skincare that doesn't contain the 2,500 chemicals found in most products? While you're living younger longer, you can look younger longer. Shackley has created a product line called Youth that is 100% natural, vegan, gluten-free, cruelty-free, non-comedogenic, dermatology tested, ophthalmologist tested. But here's the best part. In the clinical trials, 100% of the women were clinically proven to have younger looking skin, and 2/3 actually shifted their skin into a younger decade. And we're not talking about some subjective analysis. This is looking at skin under a microscope and literally measuring firmness, sagging, skin tone, radiance, pore size, hyperpigmentation, wrinkles, and skin texture, and comparing it to a skin age index so you know exactly what's happening. 2/3 shifted to a younger decade in 60 days. They are extraordinary products. And this might be the best part. All Shackley products are 100% guaranteed, no questions asked. You risk nothing by trying. In fact, if you start on one of our basic nutrition programs and you don't feel better in 30 to 60 days, you get your money back. Last time you went to a doctor's office, did the doctor say, hey, listen, call me back in 30 days if you don't feel better, we'll refund the office call? I don't think so. But Shackley is so confident of the results of these products that we're willing to guarantee them 100%. So you can live younger longer, you can look younger longer, and you can love your life in a lot of different ways. Would you like to have more freedom to fire your boss, have more money, maybe a side hustle, or maybe even a career change? Would you like to be part of an amazing community of people with similar values to really make a difference in the world? Or maybe just have the best gig in the gig economy? Well, Shackley may be the answer that you're looking for. Financially, most of us, I think, would probably like to be in a better place than we are right now. Robert Kiyosaki wrote a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I think it should be required reading for every high school senior in this country, just to get them set up for developing a financially responsible life. But he talks about the cash flow quadrant. And in this quadrant, on the left-hand side, we have people who are employees, they're working for somebody else, or people who are self-employed or professionals, where they own their own job. In both cases, you're trading time for money, which means there's a ceiling on how much you can earn. There's only so many hours in a day, no matter how much you charge per hour. I've got a dentist friend who at one point said, "Hey, Rick, you know, if I'm not standing next to that chair looking in somebody's mouth, I'm unemployed." It never occurred to me that that was the case, but he's right. It's what we call active income. In other words, it only comes when you're working. So everybody on the left side of that quadrant comprises about 95% of the people in this country, but only have about 5% of the wealth. Now on the right-hand side, we have business owners and investors. If you have enough money to live off your money, that'd be wonderful, but that's a very, very small percentage. Or you can own a business. And in that case, you've learned how to leverage yourself and create an asset that continues to pay you even if you're not working. That's what we call passive income. And you literally own your life instead of renting it to somebody else. That only describes 5% of the people in this country, but they have 95% of the wealth. So the question is, do you want to get from the left side to the right side? And if so, how are you going to make that happen? Well, here's the interesting thing. Shaklee has provided us an extraordinary lifestyle. I wanted to get out of the cubicle life. I was an aerospace engineer, early days of the space program, some great stuff going on. Viking lander on Mars, the early shuttle missions, our first space station, that jet-propelled backpack they fly around in space with. I helped design that. But all the politics and the bureaucracy of a large corporation, and then the politics and bureaucracy of NASA layered on top of that, it just made me crazy, and I wanted out. And I was tired of working for people I wouldn't have hired. Well, Shaklee, for 35 years now, has given us an extraordinary lifestyle where I have the freedom to go backpacking during the week with my granddaughter when nobody else is in the mountains, ski when there are no lift lines, and especially to work with an amazing group of people that we get to choose who we work with instead of being stuck who we work with. Another thing that I love is the fact that my commute's about 17 seconds in my bathrobe instead of out there fighting traffic every morning. And there is no glass ceiling. There is no limit to what you can do in this business and build an asset to give you the freedom that you want and the money to enjoy that freedom. Our daughter chose to build a Shaklee business because she didn't want to be dropping the kids off at daycare. She wanted to be there for the first steps, the first words, the first ballet recital, the first everything, and she was. You may love your job and never have any intention of quitting, but there's no job security out there today. Most of us probably ought to think about having a plan B. Or you may love your job but discover there's just too much month left at the end of the money, and it'd be nice to have another side gig and create another stream of income that can help you out. And if you notice, the car payments are some of the biggest chunks out of your budget month after month after month. And with Shaklee Corporation, you can have Shaklee making your car payment for you. Up here at the top, Jen Weigel, this young lady, has been in Shaklee about 5 or 6 years. She's already earned 9 years worth of car payment. She's on her second Shaklee bonus car. Here's Dean Smith, our 92-year-old rower, driving his second Tesla, paid for by Shaklee. Here's Jessica Wurzball with their first Shaklee bonus car and their second Shaklee bonus tractor. Yes, Shaklee really is that flexible. And the travel opportunities are extraordinary. 5-star resorts, luxury travel paid for by Shaklee that you get to earn year after year after year. This year's trips are an 8-day cruise on the world's largest cruise ship, and for the really top achievers, Athens and Mykonos in Greece. Next year's trip is in Costa Rica, and for the top achievers, the French Alps and the French Riviera, all expenses paid, everything taken care of. The opportunities are extraordinary. And maybe you just want to leave a legacy for your family. I know when I walked out of the aerospace engineering firm, there was nothing left. There was nothing I could give to my family. I haven't built any asset that they could have. But with Shaklee, we've created something that we can pass down to our kids and our grandkids. In fact, Robin, here in this picture, her family is now has the 5th generation benefiting from what somebody started years ago with an extraordinary income benefiting the whole family. And maybe you're just looking forward to retirement and haven't quite figured it out. I can assure you the lottery probably isn't a good retirement scheme. And will the company even be there when you're ready to retire? And on top of that, even if it is, can you live on 40 to 60% of what you couldn't live on before you retire? I love what Al Hagerman said. After 43 years in Shaklee and 23 million in income, I'm making retirement income at the rate of $3,000 a day. That's a pretty nice retirement. Well, the question was, do you want to get from the left side to the right side? Do you want to have the benefits of being in business on your own? Shaklee might be a phenomenal option for you like it was for us. I couldn't see any other way out of corporate America, but Shaklee has done extraordinary things for hundreds of thousands of people just because of this amazing opportunity. Just because of this amazing opportunity. It's what allowed me to go from a 29-year-old rocket scientist to a Shaklee entrepreneur to being semi-retired at the ripe old age of 38, and for the last 35 years have had a six-figure income semi-retired. We were able to replace my wife's income within 6 months, and we equaled my aerospace engineering income in 13 months in our spare time when we started this business. For those people who are out there who are looking for alternatives, I don't care if you're in your 20s, in your 50s, in your 70s, Shaklee is an extraordinary opportunity. And maybe the best part is, it's not just about your success. It's not just about your freedom and your financial freedom, but you're going to help and change the lives of hundreds, if not thousands of people who are desperately seeking healthy solutions for themselves, financial solutions for themselves. And you can be part of that. Thanks for taking the time to join me. I hope you touch base with the person who shared this video with you. Do your due diligence. Find out if Shaklee really is a fit for you, because if it is, it can change your life in very dramatic ways.